Great candidates. This is the Junior Caucus 2017 debate. So we'll start with an introduction. Try to keep it under 3 minutes. We'll start from Amit. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Julia Lee.
And my name is Amit Narang.
We just wanted to thank everyone for coming here today despite your busy schedules.
Our platform is based off PEAK, which stands for Policies, Events, Assembly, and Knowledge. As candidates for Junior Caucus, Julie and I want to take on the year by incorporating your suggestions into our platform.
You can find out more about our platform on our website or our Facebook page. Even after the debate, if you still have any questions left, you can just talk to us outside.
Okay, I'm Hannah.
And I'm William.
And we're running for Junior Caucus as well. Okay, so our platform is based on academics, communication, college aid, and events. So our philosophy is that it's realistically making junior year the best it could be, and keyword realistically, including aspects of maintaining a healthy academic career, giving out college support to all of the juniors.
We also want to make sure that the Junior Caucus is being efficient and using every resource we can to make Junior Caucus the best year for the juniors.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that all of the juniors' voices are incorporated into our caucus because that's really what makes the caucus strong. And we believe that we are the best in leading all aspects of the Junior Caucus.
Hi, I'm Meredith.
I'm Nathaniel. And the acronym that is the basis for our platform is slightly wordier or more of a mouthful than that of Julie at the meeting. And it's called Perform, a sense for progress, entertainment, refining, fostering, opportunity, relationships, and management.
So really what we want to work on this year, as previously mentioned, is working on communication. We really want to ensure that the Junior Caucus is taking our ideas and our ideals basically off of what the students want. We want to make sure that the caucus is reflective of how the students want to experience their junior year, and we hope that we can do it in a way that is the least stressful. We definitely want to work on our communication, but further than that, we want to provide new opportunities, new clubs, new types of funding, new programs, just really a great way so that you guys can't be stressed and you can enjoy your year.
My name is Harrison Bocher.
And I'm Oliver. Some of the points that we have in our campaign, we want to improve student opportunities. I think that's really important going into junior year, starting to look at colleges, so having opportunities for students to look outside of school for extracurriculars, we want to facilitate that.
We also want to help you when you're inside of school, such as replacing paper towel dryers with air dryers to increase economic efficiency and save the environment, as well as propagating ideas of killing cockroaches and mice so that we have a cleaner, safer school for everyone.
Also, we want to continue current SU practices like having weekly Facebook updates and bi-weekly update Facebook videos, just to make sure that the entire student body is in touch with the caucuses. And then we also want to popularize open mic more. We think it's a great opportunity for students to share their talents. And it's already a pretty well-liked event, but we just want to make that more a part of the community.
Hi, my name is Summer. My name is Farah. And in our campaign, we also focus on communication, but more participation. We realize that the student body is really involved in the government, and we want the government to be a resource for students to come to us and talk about anything, including academics and events, as well as nutrition. We realize that there's a lot of issues that students deal with. It's not really resolved by the state government. And some examples include that they don't have a close relationship with their guidance counselor, and it's important to do here because they need them for college recommendations. And we also want to provide resources like sessions so that the students can learn more about college and financial aid and what they were doing with their remaining time in Stuyvesant and with their time outside.
We also believe that communication with the students is very important, which is why we want to set up suggestion boxes around the school where you guys can put in a concern or an idea that you have and we can take that into consideration. We also want to plan more events, such as a winter ball, a fall festival, and make them more cheaper so that it's a great way for students to come and it's more a reasonable price so many more students would want to come. And we also, academics is really important. We want to make sure that junior year is as stress-free as possible. We want to establish a policy where we mandate teachers to use programs like Jupiter Edge so that, there's this one source that students can go to and rely on to know their grades, know where they're at. We just want to make junior year as stress-free as possible for everyone.
As you guys realize, like the vending machine is kind of loud. So could you all try to speak up because also the mic is on the camera. So like just generally.
Speak like you're on the announcements.
Okay, so our next question is going to kind of stem from your introduction. It's from Marvin Wang, and it is, what is it that you believe differentiates you from the other candidates? We're going to have each ticket answered, but questions from here on forth, we can't necessarily have everyone answer. So we'll have 2 to 3 tickets answered depending on who wants to. So we'll just start with Julian.
No.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So the question was what differentiates us from the other candidates, and basically to answer that, I just wanted to say that as the sophomore caucus president, I accumulated a lot of experience that I wouldn't have gotten without being the president. And for me, he has a set of skills. He's competent, he's determined, and he's very intelligent as well. A lot of our ideas stem from him, even though he does not have the same experience that I do. But then combined together, we can make sure that things are realistic and we can figure out the logistics of things and how to make it work.
Okay, so definitely our ticket, I think, has the most experience out of all of us. I was previously freshman caucus president. Now I'm still involved in SU activities such as human resources, and I still have connections with the sophomore caucus this year. And also, our campaign is very personal. We don't really consider very autonomous things. We like to have a connection between each and every one of the juniors as much as we can. And we also know all of the different rules, and we know, and I think this is really important. We know the difference between what's realistic and what's idealistic, because we're not, like, our platform may not be as revolutionary as some of the other ones, but we have a few set of very they're not locals, of course. They'd be very helpful and good, but we know how to achieve each and every one of them. We don't promise anything that we're not sure that we're going to get. And also, we, like, unlike any of the other tickets, we've worked together before within the student union and the caucus, which I think is very important for junior year. When junior year is so serious, we have student happiness and college acceptance on the line, so I think our experience together is really important.
In addition to that, I'm on the SU and I know every single chancellor's regulation, so I know what we can do and what we can't do. We, together, even before we started campaigning, we already started talking to school officials, talking about our platform. We even found out by Mr. Macris that we weren't allowed to put college trips on our platform before any of the other candidates knew and posted their platform to spec. We have also worked with the Alumni Association. I'm actually a major part of the Alumni Association. I've talked to Rosalina and Eleonora about what we could do with the Alumni Association and the potential that we can uncover with the Alumni Association with different alumni outside schools to help us.
Yeah, and not only that, but besides Williams connections, I have connections with alumni personally because I joined the mentoring committee this year, and I also have connections in various different sports and leadership positions as William does.
So what I think is interesting about Nathaniel and I is, previous to the other two, we aren't really experienced within the SU. However, we noticed as we were building our campaign that we are very, very, very good at identifying, the issues in the student body, really the students' visions, the students' goals. And what we think is specific to our campaign is that, there are a lot of academic regulations that people have proposing, but what we are doing is strictly, it's the juniors protocol. We decided that they are deciding their junior year, and we are the ones that are to support them. There have been issues let's say there have been tech issues, there have been frees, for examples like science frees, there have been club funding and opportunities such as that, and That's what we're here to provide.
So, in the spectator's review of us, we were often called vague. And in our opinion, this is simply because our platform is very moldable to the opinions of the users. I've been in the communications department of the student union, and since I noticed there was some sort of disconnect between the student body and between the government. Oh, the vending machine's on, great. Because of this, the reason why we don't have all this media information about, let's say, specific events that we want to do or specific reforms, it's simply because the majority of our platform is derived mainly from either surveys or from one-to-one interviews with regular juniors who want changes to be made. And this is something that is fundamental in our platform and really signifies the union of both the government and the student body.
What I feel differentiates our platform is that while other platforms cover points that the student body tells them, can you fix this, can you fix this? I believe that our platform delves into things they never even knew they wanted. They just accept it as a way of life, such as towel dryers, taking out money, cockroaches and mice, not being able to go do charity through the school. I believe that these are things that the students need, but just accept it as not being able to get through the school, but should have the right to.
Yeah, like Harrison said, our platform certainly includes things like the tech policy reform. That's, I think, in most candidates' platform. But we also want to focus on things that are not in SU currently. We don't just want to improve. Absolutely, we want to improve, but we also want to add new opportunities for students. Also, I think an outside force can be good. Harrison and myself went around and asked a lot of people whether they knew what SU was doing right now, and a lot of people couldn't even name one thing the SU did this year, which I think is really troubling. So I think we need an outside force to make that kind of change.
I think what differentiates us from the other candidates is also our lack of experience, but in a different way. We know what is necessary for our student government to function, and we still realize that there are things to pay attention to when we have our goals that others might call unrealistic. We know that we have to pay attention to budget, we have to pay attention to what is capable, we listen to the rules, and that's sort of what we started our campaign on. Fair and I made sure that we read through all the rules and really knew what was capable, but we didn't want that to limit what we could do and what we could attempt to do. And when we spoke with the student body, a lot of them, like Oliver said, a lot of them really don't know what's going on, and they say that they don't expect too much from the student government because they think that they're not going to achieve their goals, so they just don't say anything. And I think that's a problem, and I think that what student government should base off is communication and really try to hear what the students are doing, and even if they think it's impossible, you should still attempt it because it doesn't hurt to try. And it's really important that we focus on things like events because the student body rarely goes to events. We struggled to get kids to go to other dances, and even though it was both freshmen and sophomores, so it was really, really difficult for us to persuade kids for a lot of factors, and we want to change it.
Yeah, and also what we want to base our platform off of is, like some said, communication with the students. We really want to hear from the students themselves. We want to hear their concerns. We want to hear what they want to see in the school, what they want to see in their community. And junior year is a very important year. You know, juniors are thinking about colleges and things like that. We want to focus. Our platform is focused on making on aspects of junior year that will make the juniors really stress-free and to make junior year a year for them.
And I also want to add that I think that the fact that we really weren't participating in student government for both freshman and sophomore year really helped us gain a perspective on what the student government does and really hear what the student body thinks of it, because we thought certain things about the student government and we really wanted to change it. And we think now that we've seen how the student government functions based on the student's perspective, we can really try and make it happen.
Okay, after this we're going to be imposing a time limit of 1 minute so that your answers are pretty concise. Now it's going to be a little bit more policy based instead of, say, just talking about your campaign as a whole.
So our next question is, so as some of you mentioned, you guys are going to be presidents during junior year, which is like a pretty stressful year academically. So what would your caucus do to help students relax during an extremely stressful year? Does anyone want? Okay, so we start with.
So we have a couple different things. We mentioned earlier I think we mentioned both of the major additions that we want to make. One of them is soup kitchen opportunities. We want to help kids have a chance to go to local soup kitchens to help out there. And I think I've done it myself, so has Harrison. It's a great way to take a load off and relax and have some fun with your friends while you're also doing good for the community.
Yes, another thing we'd like is to popularize the open mic more. While I know that a lot of people go and it is...
Mr. Leonardo, if you're still in, please hold 2070.
And while it is in large locations, we'd like more people to go so that people can really connect as a community. People who normally won't spend time together because they don't have classes together or some other reason, you really want them to build together and form one student body rather than different cliques.
Can we get Hannah?
Okay, so for academics, one thing that we would do is create a complaint system online because although we have the new homework policy instilled, a lot of teachers still don't follow it, and we will create a system basically that will allow for students to submit their struggles about a certain class so that we could give them personal help about it, not just posting one autonomous kind of system where it gives off automated messages to people, but we will personally assist them with that. And the organization of the academic committee, which was started by Junior Caucus President and Vice President Halab and AB. So it started off, but the current Junior Caucus didn't exactly finish their their program, their mission. So we will complete that. So so part of it is to look for prep books for cheaper for students that will be sold in the school store. And it will also increase the variety in the books that are sold at the store. And we will also be working with ARISA and all of those different academic committees to compile different study guides because a lot of the study guides that are up right now are very outdated or.
Summer and Farah?
We also really, to make it stress-free and make them relax, we really think that the problem is that they don't know that they have access to resources, and that's sort of what our mission is to do. And an example of that is with the guidance counselors. A lot of students I know don't really form close relationships with their guidance counselors and don't always know that they can lean on them for advice and help. And so that's why we're going to make like mandated meetings at least like bi-weekly or maybe at least once a month so that students really can form a close relationship and don't have to worry about scheduling or situations like that. We also wanted to establish, add on to the homework policy and sort of make a policy where all teachers are mandated to use junior ed that way. Because like I know a lot of students are stressed about their grades and they don't always know what they're receiving because they don't always find out until the marking period has ended and then they can't really do anything about it. So what we want to do is make it so that they know their grades, can speak with their teachers, and can find out homework easily all through one resource, and it really makes the process efficient.
Yeah, and we also want to
multiple candidates have mentioned this so far. So Rohan Ahmed, he asked, how are you going to incentivize the class of 2019 to show up to the events you are planning to hold?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. How are you going to incentivize the class of 2019 to show up to the events that you are planning to hold?
So we'll start with Meredith.
So I think one of the issues with events, at least this year, has been, I've heard from a lot of friends, specifically sophomores, do you want to go to the sophomore semi-formal? Oh no, there are freshmen there, or freshmen are like, oh no, like there are sophomore there. And, really it's, the main issue in terms of people going to events is this division between grades, and that's really what we want to enforce is making sure that all grades, no matter if the events are only to juniors or if the events, if we decide to implement events that are freshmen, juniors, sophomore, juniors, etc., that we think that if all of the grades are bonded as one and they all communicate and they are all friends, then that provides higher attendance.
Also, I'm going to be honest, I didn't go to events last year because I simply wasn't interested in them. We think, like what I stressed earlier when speaking before, one of the main points of our platform, once again, is communication. And the way to get students to go to events is to create events that they actually would like to go to, that engage them, that interest them. And the only way to do that is to have a direct contact with these students. And because these events are fundraisers for the school, they're very important, and we recognize that. And this is why they have to be effective, and they have to cater to the students' needs.
Okay, so first off, we would like to say that events, although one of the most important aspects of the grade, is also not as important as college aid and academics. Most juniors actually do not care about going to that many events in junior year because it's already so stressful. So we are staying with pep rally, J-prom, and spirit days. We hope to improve on spirit days by having raffles in them. The SU and the junior caucus has a list of sponsors in which we could get awards from and put things up for raffle. Like for example, we could post pictures of them if they win a competition at Spirit Day. In addition to that, pep rally was one of the most successful events in the school. We sold school spirit clothes like the football tee, the football crew necks. In addition to that, it was sold out. Most people want to go in, and most people couldn't get in. Junior prom is one of the most important events of the grade, and we want to improve on that before Law and Navy, and we want to bring more attractions to it, like find a bigger boat or something like that. But Law and Navy eventually built them.
So about the incentivizing, one of our major policies is going to be about getting SU volunteer hours, and also implementing them next year.
Yeah, we talked to the current SU vice president about how possible this is, and he said that it was very possible and that he would work with us if we were elected to implement that in the next year. Yeah. Also, for the committees and communication, that part, during semi-formal, we had specific committees for every little group, and that really widened the aspect because the people were directly involved in the process. So obviously they would have more interest in attending the event and just created a lot more school spirit for everyone.
Also, I think Meredith and Nathaniel brought up a good point about communication, and I think we're pretty much the only platform who offers a unique mode of communication, because one of our ideas was to implement a messenger bot, which we already worked on, and it will increase the student awareness of events.
So a lot of you have mentioned communication, and Amit and Julia have already talked about what they're going to do about this. But one of our questions is, what measures would you take to ensure that the decisions that you are making are what the student body wants, and how would you decide? So can we get Summer and Farah?
So what we want to do to communicate with the student body is create suggestion boxes around the school. I think it's a great way, instead of the students having to come to the caucus and directly speak to us, they can put their concern or their suggestion into the box, and we would check them. We would put them in, important offices and around the school, so that we would check them and we would look at the concerns.
And we also want to utilize online resources, including Facebooks and emails, because but we want to change it differently. Instead of just saying, oh, we're going to have events at this time, or this is what's going to happen, we want to ask them, what exactly do you want and what date is convenient, because a lot of the problems with some of the things that the student government holds is that a lot of kids can't attend, and it's usually because it's one day a year and they can't really work around it because they're not notified early enough, or they're not asked what date is most convenient. So we're planning on holding surveys through emails, and we're also planning on asking through Facebook earlier.
Meredith and Nathaniel?
So what I think is, in terms of creating good types of communication, we think that there should, a lot of the times during homeroom, we don't really do anything. We kind of just sit there, we talk for a couple minutes, but distributing surveys during homeroom where, students would be required to fill out a survey, and I think that's really a great way, not necessarily through email. A lot of us click right back out of those emails. We don't really even read through them, but I think distributing a survey in homeroom really gives us accurate information. It's direct communication. It's not like, oh, I'm with my friends, let's just all pick one thing. It's like someone is sitting there individually, and they're going to fill out a form that really helps them decide what they want to see in the school, whether we're talking about dances, whether we're talking about certain events during the course of the day. We think that's a very, very effective way to get direct communication, correct communication, really.
And I'd like to reiterate the fact that this is not something that's simply like, oh, time out, and
Okay, so one thing that we really wanted to do is start, but continue bi-weekly letters to the grade, which would, send letters in and out with any need, but aren't getting widespread information from. And another thing that we're starting is the Council of Communication, which has never been done before. It's the council basically that controls what's being sent in and out, so that one of the jobs that the Council of Communication would do is their job would be to get information in, obviously, from the students. And that's not only just accepting the emails and going through them, but also going out of their way to ask students and make sure that we hear their voices. And also to communication from us definitely is to send out emails with any relevant information, not spamming the students, but in a manner that the students will know that when they get messages that they know that it's important.
We're going to move on to the next question right now. We're going to be still talking about communication. A lot of your tickets have mentioned cooperating with the Alumni Association in your platforms. So as you discussed this a lot, how exactly do you wish to accomplish this? Hannah and William?
Okay, so like I said before, I actually talked to Eleanor and Rosalina about how we can contact these alumni. I was part of the reunion every single year of Stuyvesant so far. I've talked to multiple alumni. I've talked to whether or not they'd be willing to actually help us create a forum that actually, which juniors, seniors, sophomores, anyone could post in, and they would respond with all different types of answers to personally suit their needs, and people that can relate to them can actually respond to them on a personal level.
And this year I joined the mentoring program. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it's basically where students can personally interact with the mentors. And through that program, I've gained such personal relationships with the mentors. So even if it's not a greater alumni association thing, we have the connections between personal mentors that we'll be able to fulfill our platform with.
So I've also been in the Stuyvesant Alumni Mentoring Program, and I really realized that it was a valuable source, but it was also very restricting, and that not everyone got in because it was between freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, and just freshmen, sophomore, and juniors. So I wanted to make it an accessible resource, and I actually talked to the leader of our cohort, and I talked both the student leader and the alumni, and I talked to multiple alumni about how they would feel about communicating with the students and being a resource for them, and we actually were also discussing a forum with them and how they would essentially also come to our informational sessions, and they would basically share their experience at Sty and talk about how they were affected at Sty and really help the students. And if students want to further know an alumni, some alumni have already agreed to email with them upon approval.
Next, we get meet and
Thank you. A lot of our points also include the Alumni Association, including informational sessions and career day. So informational sessions would just have alumni and other valuable sources of information like prep centers and people involved in the test making process. And we have them come to Sty and talk a little bit about the best ways to prepare for situations. And for career night, we know a lot of people in our current grade don't really know what they want to do outside of college, and we think in order to make informed decisions on colleges, they need to know what they're going to do outside first. So we think that if we can get companies that already do high school recruitment as well as alumni to come and talk to us about different fields and different opportunities, we think it would really help.
sure.
One of the big points of our campaign is improved student opportunities. And while that would certainly mean including businesses from around New York, which students are interested in, that could absolutely come to include alumni as well. They're an excellent resource for finding these mentorships for kids, and we already do that. And our campaign really just hopes to popularize that more. I know a few friends of mine didn't even know about this opportunity that we have until pretty late in this year. So we want to make sure through communication, better communication with the students, make sure they know they have these opportunities available to them. Yeah.
We also want to make sure that if the alums are okay with it, the students can feel comfortable and safe personally asking the alumni what they're doing and if they're comfortable and get help directly from them rather than having to go through a body that they might not feel comfortable with.
Okay, so a lot of students in their junior year is when you start to think about like college admissions. So what would you do to help students become informed about college applications and the process? Can we get
So I think what's interesting about like colleges and choosing your colleges is that when people are thinking about schools, they're like, oh, like I want to go to this Ivy or like I want to go to a certain school, and they don't really understand what's really behind the school. It could be a parent influence, it could be a friend influence. But what we really want to focus on is ensuring that, through things like career night and other college speakers, I think the main issue is that kids, are choosing colleges and choosing places based on their status rather than based on their interests. And I think that's something we want to highlight when people are learning about, what career they want to choose, what school is best for their career, not which school is best, and then choosing their career within it.
Also, once again, if we're talking to students, we have to emphasize the fact that electives are not only ways to simply get a different grade in a class that gets added into your report card, but it's also a way to get interested or engaged in different ideas or different snippets of careers that they might not have the opportunity to do otherwise if they were to talk with guidance counselors.
next, could we get William?
Okay, yeah, so one of the things that we really wanted to do is update the STAG college counseling website, and in the spec article they mentioned how there's already Naviance running, but Naviance is a resource. It's not exactly it has it's not a person, and it doesn't you don't really type in a question that you want to ask. You have to find it yourself. So what we wanted to do is take the extensive college counseling website that exists right now and basically put it into frequently asked questions that students are all wondering, but they'll have it easy access there. And another thing is to improve the communication between the students and the college office, because when we went to talk to him, Mr. Macris stressed how a lot of students don't come to them or they don't really know how much they could help, and they're kind of scared too. So we would definitely improve that relationship. And
also building off what status Meredith said about status, most people don't know in Stuyvesant there are other programs outside of school that are run by groups for minority groups in Stuyvesant. For example, I assure most people in junior year have not heard of programs like Questbridge or Y2TM, which are actually supposed to target Hispanics, minority groups in general, that could have a better time in college support.
And also the last thing we want to talk about is
Okay. Lauren Summer?
We also don't really want to just do frequently asked questions or mention college in general. At first, we want to talk about the steps you need before you get there. A lot of students think that in order to even get into college or the college of their dreams, which is usually only the IGs, that they need to every sport, be in a sport, play an instrument, and get the highest grades possible. But we want to really let them know the opportunities they have with their grade, and also what they can do with that. And a lot of students don't really know the financial aspect of college, and that's why that's what these informational sessions are for, is to allow them to learn about these financial opportunities that they have, and what exactly will happen when they're going on the college process, know about the Common App, and all these other resources that are important to know about Medicare before you even think about the college you're taking right.
Yeah, and also we believe that it's important to go to attend college open houses, which is why we want to send out monthly newsletters in which we, write down dates of, or inform them of dates of local college or university open houses, so they can actually go to the college itself and see whether or not they're the campus, look at the curriculum and everything like that.
Okay. We're going to move on to our next question now. How can you encourage diversity and promote minority groups at Stuyvesant?
So basically, at Stuyvesant, the majority of our school is Asian. Is that the type of question you're asking? What do you mean by minority?
How are you going to boost morale?
There already exist initiatives, I think some of the other candidates mentioned, including Spark, which helps work with different minority groups groups and really get a better sense of opportunity. And I think it really promotes a good sense of culture. And I think the most important thing that we could do to help the minority groups would just be increased work with the Spark Association.
I want to start with minorities within the school. So I think, I mean, I want to talk about this both in terms of, I guess, race and religion. You know, there are a lot of clubs here that are promoted that do represent certain religions. For example, I'm a part of JSU. Do a lot of people know about JSU? No. Do a lot of people attend JSU? Absolutely not. There are a bunch of Jewish students in this school who don't necessarily want to partake interest because there are other Jewish kids in the school that don't want to partake interest. And that's the same thing for a lot of other associations. And what I think we really want to focus on is really advocating that everyone in the school is welcome, both by religion, both by race, etc., and that these clubs, groups for minorities, should start with, you know, providing connection, communication within themselves, and then they can all work together in terms of talking about, you know, like future opportunities, things outside of school, etc.
Could we get Oliver?
So while we have many individual clubs and groups which are set up to help specific groups, whether they be minority or majority. At Stuyvesant, we have clubs, lots of culture clubs about religion, race, but they're very specific. Not very specific, but they're quite specific. And I think that's kind of a problem that keeps us apart from one another. When we go out to school, you know, people who are Muslim, they go to the MSA. People who are Jewish go to the JSU. I think that's not the greatest thing for our community. So our campaign proposes that we form one world group, is what we want to call it, to bring all of these groups together.
Ties in still with our sense of unity that we want to bring back to school, popularizing open mics, doing trips to soup kitchens. We want the school to come together as a community. And by dividing people based on race and religion into separate clubs, while maybe they want to be together with people of the same race and religion, we also feel that they should have a chance and an opportunity
to experience other people after school.
Okay, thank you. Farm and Summer?
I think the problem is that they are segregated. They're doing a Scandinavian club, really specific, and most of these clubs can be really excluding. And that's why Jared and I were proposing we have this sort of diversity week where we celebrate these cultures, but really educate people about them. Because I have a friend who's actually in a club that separates African Americans, that celebrates African Americans, and she told me that there's only like 6 people. Like, no one really knows about the club, and no one really knows that the clubs are not just for people who are part of the group, but it's to educate people about the group and really inform them that they exist and that they're a part of this community and that they're just like everyone else. And I think that's what this diversity week will do. It'll educate people about them and allow people who might not know too many people in their culture know about people, and also educate others and really celebrate their backgrounds, not just race and religion, but their beliefs and everything.
Thank you. We're going to be moving on to our next session. Okay. Caucuses have a lot of bureaucracy and varying committees. How can you ensure that these committees are each distinct and contribute to events?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Caucuses have a lot of bureaucracy with varying committees. How can you ensure that these committees are each distinct and contribute to events?
So during semi-formal, we had very specific committees, and not just in semi-formal, just like in Caucus in general. We've had the budget director committee, which Amit was part of, as well as communications and advisory council. They all have a different role in Caucus. To ensure that it's efficient, we do have like task lists to make sure that these are getting done. We have a deadline. The leaders, so like the directors, make sure that the members are on task, and it's proven to be very efficient.
Okay, so in the past there have been a lot of committees that have been kind of thrown around. So we really wanted to hold down on these committees because a lot of the committees this year I didn't really feel very I didn't feel like there was a very great sense of transparency, and I think a lot of the groups that, well not the groups, but the councils that we're advocating, like the Communications Council, the Advisory Council, the Homework Representatives, those are all very like unique groups that have very specific tasks, and we'll definitely make sure that they're actually doing work, not just, have a name, but, tasks.
Would anyone else like to answer? Or? Okay, so our next question is a more policy-specific question submitted by Christopher. So, what will your caucus do about the current phone policy?
We've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about eliminating, the phone ban entirely. And honestly, with the school administration, that's not necessarily feasible right now. What we really want to focus on is starting off with, tech zones to certain areas, like, for example, the third floor atrium. The first floor would be, you'd be allowed to use your phone if it was for free, considering that you work for the cost, etc. But we really want to ensure that, students, sometimes a student needs to listen to music, or they need to access something on their phone, or they need to text their parents, and for any of those slightest things in the hallway, it's snapped away. People can. We also want to ensure that kids can go get their cell phones from the student administration without having their parents to come pick it up. That's a very, very heavy burden on adults. Adults have a busy work schedule. They're not necessarily able to come to school and get their kids' phones, and kids can't really survive without a phone in the environment. They need to text their friends, etc.
We want to do a lot of what Meredith's ticket has proposed. We want more zones where students are able to use tech, like the half floors, the bars, the atrium. These are zones where people use tech already, and if they are caught, a lot of the time it's just taken away. Some teachers let it slide, some really don't. Which I think is a problem that there's almost, let alone it being, they're not allowed, there's also, you don't know which teachers are going to take it and which aren't, which kind of almost makes it scary to have your phone out. So on top of that, the NYC, the DOE, Department of Education, they have no official policy on cell phones. Students are allowed to bring them into schools, but it is up to schools to form their own policy on it, which I think just shows kind of how Stuyvesant is behind on this. I have friends in other schools who are totally allowed to use their phones in the hallways, and I think it's kind of appalling that we're not able to.
Also, our existing tech zones so far are the library and the lunchroom, and the library is very hard to get access to, and the lunchroom you might not want to, it smells, or there's like garbage sometimes on the floor and stuff. And sometimes people don't want to go 4 or 5 floors just to get to a tech zone.
Okay. Someone for?
We know that this is really difficult to alter the cell phone policy, so we don't really want to make any promises. We know that it's difficult to alter the cell phone policy, so we don't want to make any empty promises, but we understand the situation about where we can have our phones out, and we do, like Meredith said, we wanted to expand it to the auditorium so that students can use it there, but it's a very unrealistic idea because no one really goes to the auditorium in this situation. So we just think that having promises that they will make, allow it in the hallways is very unrealistic, not really a reliable thing to class.
Can we have William?
Very little people know that actually third floor you're not allowed to have phones out because it's a fire hazard. On the half floor you're also not allowed to have it out because it's an active stairway, meaning it's a fire hazard. So first off, those zones are totally not allowed, which destroys a lot of other points of our opponent's policies. In addition, there is somewhat of a policy on phones by the Chancellor's regulations. All those schools may have their own cell phone policy. When every time that a phone is taken, a school is supposed to contact each student's parents after they get it taken out back the first time. Our school is already very lenient on that. They do not call student parents after the first time. So I believe that the cell phone policy may sound like an ideal idea. It just cannot be gotten rid of that easily.
Wait,
Generally.
what do you want to do now? You want to answer the last one.
Sorry guys, we had a little bit of camera trouble, but we're gonna pick up right where we left off.
Yeah.
The adults who are able to help you or that are, supportive, and then you divide yourself into committees and you help. If we've seen efficient committees in the past, then we continue to keep those, and if not, we build new ones.
Sorry. Yeah, so I have to echo Nathaniel's statement about the messenger bot. It is, at best, it's a gimmick. It might increase some amount of communication, but I think there's a lot more concrete steps that can be taken. The point where I think I differ with Nathaniel is they kind of are pretty vague with how they're actually going to get things done. A large problem with just getting things done, period, in the real world is money. And so one of the propositions our campaign has is to use these air dryers, which seems, like how much money is that going to save? They seem pretty expensive, but they save 97% on what paper towel dryers normally use. And so I think just to kind of keep,
We tried to center our points in our platform based on what we believe we can accomplish, not general ideas about, we want to help improve this. We want to say what changes we directly want to make that we try to base in reality.
Yeah, I mean we're a real campaign. We're not using acronyms to kind of get across this kind of silly. I mean, there's a lot of campaigns here using acronyms, right? Like why, right? This is a down to earth campaign.
Going to be, what will be each of your approaches to addressing the current need by student athletes for a PSAL, physical education free period?
And this was asked by Selena Liu.
Yeah.
So we, as a sophomore caucus, we have been working with the freshman caucus, SSLT, and just like SU in general about the PSAL freeze. We have been contacting outside schools and gaining more information about the logistics. There has been a small issue on legal terms, but we will continue to work with Mr. Contreras and Mr. Marin so that we can resolve those problems and make the thing actually implement the policy.
Meredith?
While I'm not on a PSAL team, I've heard lots of statements from my fellow students and about how they very much would like to have a gym free, which totally makes sense because they already get the exercise they need, and the point of many of these gym classes is to simply help those kids who might not be able to do it on their own. So yeah, the process of doing so may not be clear as of now, but in doing so we think is very important and would definitely lighten the load and the morale of many of the students inside.
Yeah, I personally have quite a few friends on the swim team, although I'm not part of it myself. And they're pretty fit people. They swim they swim almost every day. So I don't see the need for them to go to a PE class when they could be studying for the test they had next period, raising their grades. And I think that's kind of ridiculous that they have to do PE, and that's something that needs to be changed. And we're going to work with Mr. Contreras and Mr. Moran to make that happen. Obviously, there are a lot of logistical boundaries there that stop students from currently having gym frees, but that's definitely a point we want to emphasize in our campaign.
All right, could we get William?
Yeah, so something we wanted to emphasize is that this PSAL free thing is more of a student union, whole entire body-based thing, but we will support that, of course, but I don't want to take any credit and say this is what we as a junior caucus will do, and to continue that, we're going to take a unique data-based approach, and we'll obviously keep going on with this issue because it's such a thing that the SU is pressing very hard on. And
in addition to that, I have not seen many of these candidates at SLT meetings actually talking about the policy that will be enforced by the SU and under Contreras.
Okay. Oh, okay. So a lot of you guys have experience in the student union from before. So,
but even if you don't,
yeah, you could still kind of answer. So we just want to ask overall, what do you think the flaws are of the student union, and what would you do to improve?
All right, could we get, Julia?
For Caucus, one thing I really noticed was the communication was very important. Previously, I feel like as sophomore caucus, probably because of experience and lack of, lack of competence, I feel like we haven't done as great of a job of communication with between our grade as well as with the administration. However, more towards the middle to the end of my my term, yes. I have realized how important communication actually is. It's really the most efficient way to get things done is to have committees be communicating constantly with the SU, the other different caucuses, and the administration.
Oh yeah, and I'd also like to add. Okay, I guess not.
What should we call him?
Can we get Nathaniel and Meredith?
So I think what we want to stress, which we've talked a lot about in our campaign, is not necessarily the amount of communication, but the way that we communicate. In terms of something I've previously stated, when I talk about emails, and I know Tessina and Alexa work really hard on the emails that they send, but I feel that they are disregarded. And I generally think that's because people don't really want to spend a lot of time on their emails. They don't really feel like reading everything, surveys to them. Some people, they're very lazy and it takes a lot of time, but we definitely think that communication needs to be altered so that kids feel that it's easy and that they're still being represented. So as we talked about before, surveys in homeroom and such.
Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier, but I've talked to many people in my grade in the sophomore year, and a lot of them, this isn't to hit out at the current caucus, but a lot of them don't really know what's been done, and whether things have been done or haven't. If the students in the first place don't know whether they have, I don't understand how they're able to capitalize on the opportunities that the current caucus is making. So I think, just to echo everyone else's thoughts, communication is key here. Getting in touch with the student body is an absolute key, and we've talked about previously the ways in which we want to improve that.
Also, while I feel like communication is vital, I feel that students don't really know that they can influence the caucuses. They feel that emails sent out are set in stone. But we want the students to know that they can come to us with concerns. We're public servants. Our duty is to represent the student body. So we want the student body to feel comfortable coming to us and telling us things that they want changed.
William and Hannah?
Okay, so I work on the SU almost every day after school. The communication between each committee is quick, amazing, and efficient. I was once an assistant director of clubs and pubs, and it was absolutely flawed. But after finding a few flaws, we worked with Tessine and Matthew So, and we got that fixed very quickly alongside with Alexa Valentino. We also want to say that there is a small problem between communicating, which is a lot of people within the SU don't know where ideas are coming from and where. For example, Julia in our meets and campaign states something about SU volunteer hours, in which Timur, the HR chief of staff, and I have come up with in November last year, and we have already put it on the projects board. In addition to that, Tessina and Alexa put it in their platform themselves.
And also, the SU, which is already very good right now, I think one thing that might be improved on a little bit more isn't anything very logistical, but also just for a caucus to have more of a personal relationship with each and every one of the students. And I think it's just, I think it's the job of the caucus, obviously to do that, but I think it could be emphasized much more, not just broad communication, but having that relationship with all the students and all the groups within STAG.
Farah and Summer?
I agree with Hannah completely and all the other candidates who've spoken. Communication, we believe is the key thing here. That's why we want to do the suggestion boxes and the emails and things like that. We really want to involve the juniors with the caucus and the SU, and we want them to know what's going on. We want to hear from them. So I think communication, again, is the most important, the crucial thing.
And we also want to add that it's not at all what the student union can do, because we know that the student
union did a lot, but the problem is the students don't, and the students don't know that if they have an opinion and if they have something that they want to change, they don't know that they can come to the student union and ask. They think that all they can do is talk about it with their friends, and then it ends up going nowhere. And they also don't know that they can come to the caucus. That's why we really want to show that you can tell us your ideas, and no idea is stupid, and it will try to show you that whether it's okay with the rules, and communicate with the student union and really show that the student union isn't a higher power. They're students too, and they're there to help you as well.
Okay.
Alright, so this is our final question. So a lot of you have brought up like good ideas and have a lot of good ideas in your platform. So how can you ensure that the ideas that you come up with are actually executed efficiently and like within the school year? We'll start with Julie.
So going back to the SU volunteer hours thing, if it was planned last year in November and it wasn't implemented, it just shows how inefficient the SU actually is. And when I personally
You
also
chose to do that. You chose to stop over here.
Okay, but when I'm sorry, since I'm trying to speak. And when I also thought of the idea and brought it to the SU vice president, and he seemed like he didn't know that that was actually a thing, and said, "Oh, really? That is actually a really good idea." Something along those lines.
Something along those lines.
Yes, but it's close enough
Audience,
that
please keep quiet.
they get the point.
I'm getting attacked here.
I got attacked.
I'm getting attacked here.
Okay. Okay.
I'd like to add on to that. I think our school has a pretty large number of users on Facebook. I think the fact that we have such an underwhelming Facebook presence is kind of embarrassing, especially considering we think we're like a techie school. I think we should definitely be catering more towards the Facebook presence. And one of our major methods of communication will be the messenger bot. And I think we're definitely still going to focus on emails and using the website and stuff. But that's all been done. It's nothing original. It's nothing unique. Everyone's already thought of that. The messenger bot is something unique, and it'll actually give us the chance to properly and effectively communicate with people anytime.
Okay, it's a messenger bot. It's not going to be something revolutionary that will change the world. The most it'll be able to do is probably say yes or no, or send you to some waiting list that'll play some weird elevator music as you wait for maybe 10 minutes until someone picks up. What we need is something that's effective, something that's not too different from what's already been established, and something that's close to home with students. Yes, while the messenger bot may appear efficient and very close to home at first, it's not something that can really get the job done in the most efficient way. It's a gimmick at the most. Yes, it's very cool, but the way to actually get things done is to go one-to-one with students, because I didn't feel represented by the junior caucus this year. That too. But the point is, I think the job of the junior caucus is to be the role models, is to be the people that the students look up to.
Yeah.
And if they do that, they can.
And definitely, in order to implement certain things, you first work with support. You decide that this needs to be implemented because kids want it. Well, we're not kids anymore. I guess students really want it. And then once you've decided